Newsflash Show. I'm Robert Reese, your host. Coming up a little bit later, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the movie Fantastic Four, plus my thoughts on the GOP presidential debate, the very first one that happened on Fox News. But first, we're going to get started with headlines and punchlines. To start off here, Republican National Committee Chairman Reince Priebus said that the RNC doesn't support any one candidate. No, they support all of them, as long as they're against Donald Trump. By the way, speaking of Donald Trump, in the last presidential debate, was I the only one that recognized his likeness to another character? Yeah, seems very similar. Now, in other headlines and punchlines from this past week, actor Tim Allen, who is from Home Improvement, he has a show called Last Man Standing now. He actually endorsed Ohio Governor John Kasich for president this past week. I think I speak for everybody when I say, In other news, President Obama turned 54 this week. Pretty big news for him. To which Donald Trump responded, "Prove it." Yeah, hashtag birther. There you go. Now, birthers are people who believe that President Obama wasn't born in America, didn't really have a birth certificate, and when he finally revealed it, they said it was photoshopped. Donald Trump was one of the most outspoken ones saying that. So, also this past week, the wreckage that was found over in the Indian Ocean was confirmed to be the missing Indonesian plane MH370. To which Alex Jones replied, "Liars! Osama bin Laden has it! False flag! False flag!" Conspiracy theorists. What are you going to do? More right? United States children live in poverty now, according to a study, than in the 2008 recession. Yeah, President Obama responded, "Did I tell you I killed Osama bin Laden?" So, wildfires in California are raging so bad, it's causing thousands of people to have to evacuate. Yeah, they call these wildfires taxes over in California. Yeah, that's what's causing everybody to evacuate the state over there. Speaking of which, on these wildfires, since they don't have water to put the wildfires out to suppress them, they're going to try to suppress the flames with liberal oppression instead. So, I'm being oppressed. In other news here, NFL training camps are now underway, and a New York Jets fan flew a banner over the Patriots training camp calling them cheaters. This is a picture of the actual banner that flew above there. A Patriots fan responded by flying a banner over the Jets training camp calling them Jets. Yeah. Like, really? We might be cheaters, but you're still a Jet. All right, in other sports news, Norwegian golf courses have a vandal who's pooping in the golf holes. Yeah, disgusting, right? Yeah, and they immediately suspected Tiger Woods because of his crappy play. All right, in other news, there was widespread wireless outages all throughout the southern states this past week. Yeah. So like 5 people were pissed. "Where's my wireless? What are you talking about? What's wireless?" So, yeah, that's the South for you. Researchers say that methane measurements, and yes, that's methane, they say methane measurements are worse than what they expected. Yes, they reassessed their calculations after eating at Taco Bell for the very first time. They're going, "Man, there's a lot more of these Taco Bells around the world than what we realized. We're going to have to reassess our calculations." India this past week backpedaled on their massive pornography ban that they have. Mainly because the politicians realized that they were banned from it as well. Yeah. Can I get a porn exemption? I'm a politician. And finally, Idris Elba is the very first man to grace the cover of Maxim magazine. To which Caitlyn Bruce Jenner responded, "What did I do all this for?" You did it for nothing. Sorry. All right, that's your headlines and punchlines for Newsflash this week. Coming up next, I'll share with you my thoughts on the movie Fantastic Four. Welcome to Newsflash Show. I'm Robert Reese. We just had headlines and punchlines. I'll give you my thoughts on the very first presidential GOP debate that came up on Thursday. But first, it's my movie review. This week is Fantastic Four. Now, full disclosure, I was not a very big fan of the very first Fantastic Four. I thought the characters, I didn't like who played Mr. Fantastic. I didn't like who played Dr. Doom. And I even thought Michael Chiklis was a little too old to be playing the character for the Thing. But so I wasn't real wild about it. I did like Rise of the Silver Surfer. So I had hopes for this one. And so went and watched it. Actually took my 11-year-old son with me. And, overall, what I thought about it was, meh, that was okay. It wasn't very fantastic. It turns out I'm not the only one that thinks that. The director, Josh Trank, actually tweeted this out, deleted it, but it was too late. Somebody screenshotted it, posted it to Variety.com. Director Josh Trank tweeted out, quote, "A year ago, I had a fantastic version of this, and it would have received great reviews. You'll probably never see it. That's reality, though." Even he admits not very good show. Like I said, it wasn't a terrible movie. It's just not great. If you want to go see a good comic book movie, go see Ant-Man, go see Avengers 2 or something like that. Now, the synopsis of the film. A teenager accidentally figures out how to transport things to another dimension. The Baxter Corporation realizes that he's done something that they've been trying to do, which is transport humans to this other dimension. When they finally do that, transport humans to the other dimension, something goes wrong, which gives them superpowers, and then the military decides, we can make a super army. When Doctor Doom realizes this, it pisses him off. That's basically the synopsis of the story. Now, as far as the Christian perspective goes, it did have some S words throughout the movie, all throughout the movie. And also, there was a scene that was so violent, I had to cover my kids' eyes up. It was kind of surprising to see the scene that violent in there. So it is PG-13. My son was 11, and I felt like it was too sensitive for him. My older daughter, she's almost 13. It still would have been too rough for her. So just giving you a heads up with that. As far as extra stingers or credits go, there were no extra credits. So that was kind of a big surprise to have a comic book movie that doesn't have any extra credit scenes or a scene at the end of the credits. That was a pretty big surprise. But there wasn't anything, and there was no cameo from Stan Lee that me or my son could see either. So big surprise there. Overall, the movie, meh, okay. If you want to see a good comic book movie, go see Ant-Man or see Avengers 2. All right, when we come back here on News Flash Show, I'll share with you my thoughts on the very first GOP presidential debate that was on Fox News this past week. Hey, welcome to News Flash Show. I'm Robert Reese. Just gave you my thoughts on the movie Fantastic Four. And now it's time for my thoughts on the GOP presidential debate for Soapbox. Yeah, that's my soapbox for this week. And the main reason is because I felt like the debate could have been so much better. For two reasons. One is because I wanted some action. I mean, you got Donald Trump up there, right? So you're thinking you're going to get some good stuff from Donald Trump. Let me give you two examples. One time, the moderator asked this question: how would you disarm Iran? The appropriate response should have been by doing the Harlem Shake. Con los terroristas. Do the Harlem Shake. That's what you need. That's what it needed to be said. How do you disarm Iran? Right here. This is how you do it. The Harlem Shake. Didn't happen. So continue. Okay, stop. All right. So moderator also said it towards the end. Kind of like it's bizarre. Moderator says, say something inspiring. The appropriate response should have been, knee-high football rules. So that would have made the debate much more exciting and easier to watch at times. So no, in all reality, the debate was bad because of the moderators. It was. Look, Fox News had an opportunity to do something that all the other TV stations don't do, which is actually moderate a debate. Instead, they hold these things like they are group interviews. Let me explain what I mean. Look, first of all, I'm talking from experience here. I moderate a lot of debates. I'm a radio talk show host. I've moderated debates on the air. I've moderated debates for C-SPAN. I've done local election debates. I've done congressional elections. I've done Senate elections. I've done them in primaries. I've done them in general elections. I know what I'm talking about here. And what a moderator's job is to guide the discussion and to help the candidates probe deeper onto the issues. And instead, what these moderators did was basically try to interview them, and it was even more than that. It's particularly with Donald Trump, is more like a hit piece interview. Look, when the Huffington Post, which leans left, and the New York Times, which leans left, say that you did a good job attacking these right-wing candidates, you did a bad job, okay? Continue on here. They started the debate off, the moderators, bloviating just about themselves and how great it was to be here and blah, 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 blah. And then Megyn Kelly starts off by saying, I bet these candidates sure are glad that Carly Fiorina's not here since she kicked butt in the very first debate of the day. Really? You think the 18 candidates are worried about this lady who barely made the B team? Come on. Little did we know she was foreshadowing her thoughts on these candidates, that she didn't like them and that she was going to do her best to destroy them, particularly Donald Trump. The very first question was, raise your hand if you would consider a third party run, if you're not the nominee for the Republican Party. Obvious an attack towards Donald Trump. Now, the problem is people were tuning in. 24 million people were tuning in because they wanted to see if Donald Trump had meat behind his rhetoric. They wanted to find out if he had ways to fix the country, if he had positions that he could resolve things with, not some of the things that they were asking him. Basically, when you say, who's going to run third party, you're basically saying who's not going to toe the party line. We don't get to find any meat from that. It was a wasted question. Then they attacked him on his misogynist comments that he made on Twitter, which turns out now the actual quote that they used was not a misogynist comment. It made it sound like that the way they used it, but it wasn't a misogynist comment. That being said, Donald Trump said pretty outrageous things on Twitter and on air and in person. An appropriate question that wouldn't have had, first of all, very long question. The tone was attacking. And look, you could have merely just said this. Many Americans don't think it's presidential to say some of the things that you say on Twitter or in person. How would you respond? Because now you can actually address something, being presidential, being diplomatic in your speech and in your demeanor. Now, as it was, I think Donald Trump responded appropriately. He made a quip about Rosie O'Donnell that got roaring applause. Everybody remembers that from the debate. Also, he said, look, we don't have time to be politically correct all the time. And I thought he recovered very well from that. But the questions towards Donald Trump continued in that vein all night long. Furthermore, each of the candidates didn't get a weigh in on each of the topics. That's why I say this is more like a group interview and almost more like a hit piece group interview than it is like a debate. Now, first of all, when you have this many candidates, hey, I agree. It's hard to have a debate. But you can have a candidate forum. A candidate forum is where you ask one question from one person, then all of them get an answer. That's what everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know where does all of the candidates stand on the positions. They didn't get to do that. Instead, these national moderators feel like they have to keep the discussion moving, like an interview. They try to get in as many questions as possible so that they can be the center of attention. I guess that's why they get paid the big bucks, right? Yeah, so they can be the center of attention, even when they're not supposed to be. No, the center of attention was supposed to be those 10 candidates on the stage in the Fox News debate. In fact, a study came out and showed that the moderators had the most time talking. They talked 31.7% of the time, more than any of the other candidates. That's outrageous. Outrageous. With that many candidates, you should go in realizing that you probably will only get 3 to 5 questions, period. At least if you want to have a debate or a candidate forum instead of a group interview. Here's an example of how it should have gone, at least if I was in charge. This is a forum, not a debate, because there's too many candidates. That's why I would have made that clear up front. However, if a candidate invokes the name of another candidate, then that candidate can have 30 seconds to answer the question. 30 seconds to respond, I guess you would say. Each candidate will only have 30 seconds to talk. So I ask you a question, where do you stand with abortion, or something like that? Would you repeal Roe v. Wade? How would you do it? Whatever your question is, 30 seconds to answer. If you invoke somebody else's name, they have 30 seconds to respond. Now, each candidate will answer the question before moving on to the next topic. That's right. We're not going to go to the next topic until all the candidates have a chance to answer. Now, the questions would have been things like this. How will you defund Planned Parenthood? And how will you keep funding for women's services? How would you bring wages and salaries up if you're elected as president? How would you secure the border? How would you pay for it? Do you think the U.S. needs to defeat ISIS? If so, how would you do it? What would your policy be with Iran, North Korea, Cuba? What would you make the American energy independent? Would you make American energy independence a priority, or would you protect the environment? How would you balance the two? How would you fix healthcare, especially if you can't repeal Obamacare? What is the role of the federal government with education? What would you do to change the tax code? These are the things people wanted answers to, and they barely got little snippets of it because of the moderators. Now, somebody can pass this along to Reince Priebus or Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the heads of the RNC and the DNC respectively. Let them know I'd be more than happy to run the next forum. Then please pass that on to them. Let them know. Because never, ever, ever have another candidate, not even a debate. This is a candidate group interview. They're useless. You can only get little snippets out of it. Now, there's one other option we could have. And that is have a March Madness bracket style debate. Oh yeah, you take Rand Paul versus Chris Christie, and whoever wins that one goes on to the next round to face Donald Trump. And then, at the same time, you've got Marco Rubio facing off against Jeb Bush, and whoever beats that goes on. Now that I'd be all for. That's my soapbox, and this is Newsflash with Robert Reese. Hey, coming up next, this week's Sign of the Apocalypse. All right, welcome back to Newsflash Show. I'm Robert Reese. It's been great to be here with you. Now, we have a Facebook page, well, obviously right here on YouTube, And we're on Twitter as well, so be sure to follow us on Twitter, Newsflash Show, Newsflash_show, sorry. Now, we wrap up every show with this week's Sign of the Apocalypse. And this week's Sign of the Apocalypse deals with, well, government confusion. If you recall, right before Obamacare got passed, there was a lot of controversy because a lot of people want to know what was in it. What was in Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act? Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act is the actual name of it before it got monikered Obamacare. And Nancy Pelosi, who was Speaker of the House at the time, said, well, we have to pass it to see what's in it. Something that was mind-boggling absurd to people who actually follow these types of things. Pass it before you know what's in it? It blows your mind. Well, in Indiana, apparently they've been doing that. A new law just got into effect in Indiana that bans cell phones while driving. Oh, no. I'm not talking about texting while driving. I'm not even talking about using your hand while driving, because there's some states, there's some communities that ban texting while driving. There's others that ban using your cell phone while driving unless it's with a hands-free device. No. They banned it even with using a hands-free device. So if you have Bluetooth in, still can't talk on the phone. If you are using your phone for GPS, can't use it for GPS. If you get a text or something like that, you obviously can't text. You can't use your phone. You can't listen to music on it. Oh yeah, it is banned. You cannot use your phone for music. If you want to plug it into your stereo and listen to RDO.com or Pandora.com or something, can't do it. It's illegal. Yeah. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are upset about it. A couple of them, up to 4 people, are actually state congressmen, who voted for it. Yeah, they voted for it. And in an interview this week, they said, "I don't remember voting for that. This is the first I heard of. The first I heard about it was on the news." Yes. So the we gotta pass it before we find out what's in it has now affected Indiana, and this is what we get with our politicians nowadays. You have people who just don't know what they're doing. I got into talk radio, almost 7 years ago now, and I was shocked to find out how much U.S. senators and U.S. congressmen don't know about the issues. And we're seeing that even trickle all the way down to state legislators. They don't know anything about the issues. They know they're experts on 1 or 2 things, and those are usually the things that they ran on, and they got support. Many times, though, what I found is they just have wealthy friends who were able to get them elected. And we're seeing that now in Indiana, where now you can't drive with your phone as a GPS. Absolutely ridiculous. What is this world coming to? All right, that's the Newsflash Show. That's your week's Sign of the Apocalypse. Join us next week. And thanks for joining me. I'm Robert Reese. This is Newsflash Show. Now, there was a plane wreckage found this week that was confirmed to be the missing Indonesian plane MH370. Oops.
Happy birthday.
What?
Oh, no.
Oh, I skipped it. All right, it's all right. All right, here, I'll give you my thoughts on the. Here we go. On the very first. Yeah, is it appropriate to burp on camera? I don't know.
No, it should be.